Can you imagine a society where one woman is simultaneously the wife of multiple men? And specifically, these husbands are blood brothers. It sounds like something out of a movie, but this is a real custom in the Mustang region of Nepal. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Nepal, a nation dubbed the Rooftop of the world, holds countless other shocking truths that you probably never imagined. Amidst a harsh natural environment, the people here maintain practices that seem illogical, yet hide stories of survival culture and spiritual beliefs spanning thousands of years. So what has made this small, poor country a place of such unimaginable realities? Let's explore them in today's video. Number 1. Fraternal polyandry, the practice of sharing a wife. In isolated villages in the Himalayas where arable land is scarce and winters are severe, the Nepalese have developed a peculiar marriage custom. Fraternal polyandry, where several brothers share one wife. To modern ears, this might sound unbelievable or unnatural, but for the Highlanders, it is a solution for survival. The origin of this custom stems from geographical realities. The valleys here have very little cultivated land. If divided among all sons upon reaching adulthood, each would inherit a plot too small to sustain a family. Therefore, the solution is to keep the land and assets intact for the entire family, with the daughter-in-law becoming the common wife of the brothers. The eldest brother marries first, and then as the younger brothers come of age, they are added to the marriage. There are even cases where the bride herself raises her future brothers-in-law from childhood, those who will later become her husband. What is even more surprising is the calm way they coexist. Contrary to common notions of jealousy, polyandrous families in Mustang maintain harmony. The eldest brother is often considered the main husband, but the younger brothers also share the role according to a division of labor. One man from the region shared, "When my brothers are home at the same time, I know I will sleep separately to make room for my elder brother. There's nothing bad about it because we consider ourselves part of the same marriage." In daily life, they clearly divide tasks. The husbands work together to farm, raise livestock, and trade, while the wife remains central, managing finances, caring for the family, and bringing everyone together. Children born into these families do not differentiate their biological father, but call all the men in the house father. This ensures they always receive care, but also creates a very different family relationship from the conventional model. For the local community, fraternal polyandry is not strange, but natural. A woman can become pregnant multiple times, so having multiple husbands does not create imbalance. On the contrary, the family gains more labor, achieves greater economic stability, and the woman also has a form of social insurance. If one husband passes away, she still has others to share the burden. However, this custom also raises significant questions about individual choice and emotions, especially for women. They often do not have the freedom to choose love, but must commit to all the brothers in the husband's family. Nevertheless, in remote Himalayan villages, where survival is more important than romantic notions, wife sharing persists as an essential part of life. Number 2. The Kidney Village. A story of survival. If fraternal polyandry astonishes many with its peculiarity, another reality in Nepal is even more shocking in a heartbreaking way: the village of Hoxi, where hundreds of residents have had to sell their kidneys to survive day by day, earning it the sorrowful name Kidney Village. Hoxi is located in eastern Nepal, an impoverished region lacking jobs and economic development opportunities. After the devastating earthquake in 2015, which destroyed thousands of homes, the residents found themselves in even more dire circumstances. Without money to rebuild their homes, many families chose the only option they believed they had: selling a kidney for approximately $4,000, just enough to rebuild a small house for their family. This might sound like a quid pro quo solution, but the truth is far more brutal. Behind it lies an underground network of brokers and organ trafficking. The poor people of Hoxas are often lured by sweet promises. By donating a kidney, they would receive a large sum of money, and their health would not be affected at all. But they are unaware that on the international black market, the kidney they sell for $4,000 could be traded for up to 50 times that amount. Residents receive a paltry sum, while brokers and traffickers reap enormous profits. Even more tragically, many people after selling a kidney suffer from weakened health and are no longer able to perform strenuous labor as before. Some women are deceived, not even receiving the promised amount after the surgery. Hoxie has gradually become a scar, reflecting the desperation of poverty and injustice in Nepalese society. The surgical scars running across the lower abdomen of many villagers have become a telltale sign of who has sold a kidney. They share that they are not proud, but had no other choice. For them, selling a kidney was not just about making money, but an effort to prevent their family from collapsing entirely after the disaster. Today, the Nepalese government has enacted laws prohibiting organ trafficking, but the social wounds and poverty in Hoxie remain. This village symbolizes a shocking truth. When survival hangs in the balance, people may be forced to sacrifice a part of their own body for a home food and existence. Number 3. The cycle of child marriage. If Kidney Village reveals the desperation of poverty, then child marriage exposes another persistent and silently trapping cycle for millions of Nepalese girls in darkness. Despite child marriage being banned since 1963, the harsh reality is that even today, 4 out of every 10 girls marry before the age of 18, and about 8% marry as young as 15. This means Nepal currently has up to 5 million child brides. These numbers are not just statistics. Behind them are stolen childhoods and dreams of education cut short. Instead of going to school, these girls are forced to handle household chores and laundry early. Instead of playing with friends, they become mothers when their bodies and minds are not yet ready. Many girls have tearfully shared that they have no say in their marriage or in becoming pregnant. In not a few cases, newborns die in the arms of their young mothers due to lack of knowledge and basic medical care. The causes of child marriage in Nepal are multifaceted poverty, lack of education, the dowry system, and social pressure. In struggling families, parents often see marrying off their daughters early as a way to reduce the burden. With the dowry custom, the older a daughter gets, the more money parents have to prepare for the groom's family. Therefore, they often choose to marry her off early to get it over with. The consequence is a repeating chain of tragedies. Girls marry early, have many children drop out of school, lack skills, and then fall back into poverty like their parents' generation. The vicious cycle of poverty child marriage, many children, more poverty, extends across generations. The Nepalese government has launched a strategy to end child marriage by 2030, with a vision of empowering women through education, healthcare, and encouraging men to participate in changing social attitudes. But in reality, the law is still not strong enough. Police rarely intervene to stop child marriages, and hardly anyone is prosecuted. Even more concerning, there are increasing cases of voluntary love marriages involving children as young as 12 or 13, indicating that the problem lies not only in the law, but also in culture awareness and lack of opportunities. Child marriage not only steals the childhoods of millions of Nepalese girls, but also hinders the nation's development. A society where nearly half of adult women grew up as child brides will find it very difficult to break through no matter its potential in nature tourism or culture. This is not just a story of Nepal, but also a wake-up call to the world about children's rights and gender equality. Number 4. The living goddess who steals childhood Kumari. If girls are forced to grow up too soon, then the Kumari tradition is the opposite, transforming young children into goddesses and then taking away their childhoods. For over 300 years, a ritual both sacred and controversial has existed in Nepal, the Kumari tradition, anointing young girls as living goddesses. These goddesses are usually only 3 to 6 years old, chosen from the Newar community in the Kathmandu Valley. People believe they are the embodiment of the goddess Durga in Hinduism, and thus are revered by both Buddhists and Hindus. From the moment a girl is crowned Kumari, her childhood effectively ends. The girls are brought into the Kumari temple, live in shrine rooms, are not allowed to touch their feet to the ground, and have little contact with the outside world. All day, the living goddess only converses with close family and a private tutor, with public appearances reserved for important ceremonies. In the eyes of devotees, they are the embodiment of sanctity, but in the eyes of a child, it is a life of complete isolation and control. This sacredness ends suddenly and bitterly as soon as the girl has her first menstrual period. In Nepalese culture, menstrual blood is considered impure, and this means the goddess suddenly returns to being an ordinary person overnight. From the pinnacle of worship, they fall back to the ground of everyday life, where everything is unfamiliar. Going to school, making friends, running and playing, integrating into a society they had never experienced before. Many former Kumaris share feelings of overwhelm, disorientation, and psychological crisis as they learn to live as normal people after years of being separated from the community. The controversy is the Kumari tradition a supreme honor or a form of childhood deprivation? Nepalese people view it as a cultural symbol, a religious belief that has existed for centuries. But to international observers, Kumari exposes the conflict between faith and children's rights. Should a 5-year-old child bear the goddess's destiny, only to have to learn how to be human from scratch upon puberty today? Nepal has made reforms. Some Kumaris are allowed to attend school and have more interaction with society. But the nagging question remains: are we honoring belief or sacrificing the childhood and soul of young girls to maintain a tradition? Number 5. The economic paradox of Nepal. Nepal is known as the rooftop of the world, home to majestic Everest and breathtaking landscapes that captivate tourists. Yet behind this beauty lies an economy still struggling. With a per capita GDP of only about $1,300, the country remains classified as low income by the World Bank. About 3/4 of the workforce is still engaged in small-scale agriculture, relying mostly on human labor and seasonal crops. The paradox is that despite possessing a dense river system and enormous hydropower potential, Nepal frequently faces energy shortages. In 2010, just over half the population had access to electricity, meaning about 12.5 million people still lived in darkness. Even in the capital, prolonged power cuts have become commonplace. Meanwhile, over 20 million people still rely on firewood for cooking, putting immense pressure on already dwindling forests. Without oil, gas, or coal reserves, Nepal is forced to import most of its fuel and even electricity from India, accounting for 16 to 23% of its domestic needs. This dependence leads to the country's energy system being considered outdated and fragile. International trade also reflects a serious imbalance. Each year, Nepal exports only about $1 billion, mainly wool carpets, textiles, and bottled water, while importing up to $7.7 billion, nearly 8 times more. From fuel machinery and medical equipment to food, most items must be purchased from abroad. The chronic trade deficit has pushed the economy into a vicious cycle poverty dependence, and then more trade deficits. This is also why millions of Nepalese are forced to leave their homeland working in the Middle East, Malaysia, or India, sending remittances back to support their families. A country rich in natural potential, yet struggling with scarcity. That is the economic and energy paradox of Nepal today. Number 6. The haunting specter of natural disasters. What if a nation in just a few minutes lost thousands of lives, millions of homes, and millennia-old heritage? That was Nepal on April 25, 2015, when a powerful magnitude 7.8 earthquake shook the entire country. In an instant, over 8,700 people died, 22,000 were injured, and 8 million residents were left homeless. The ancient squares in Kathmandu, once recognized by UNESCO, turned into rubble, and mountain villages were completely wiped out. Before the grief could subside, strong aftershocks continued to strike a reminder of how fragile peace is in this land. More terrifyingly, earthquakes are just one slice of the series of natural disasters Nepal endures. Every monsoon season, from June to September, heavy rains pour down the mountainsides, causing landslides that sweep away everything in their path. Entire villages are buried in an instant, roads are cut off, and communications cease. Residents lose not only their homes, but also their livelihoods as rice fields and crops are submerged. In a country where 76% of the workforce depends on agriculture, a single flood or landslide can wipe out a year's worth of labor. The irony is that Nepal is famous for its magnificent landscapes, but it is the majestic Himalayas themselves that make this nation an epicenter of natural disasters. Its special geological position places Nepal on the boundary between two colossal tectonic plates, causing frequent tremors. For the people here, fear is not just a memory from 2015, but a reality that repeats annually. For many communities, peace only lasts until the next monsoon season. They build not for permanence, but to survive through harsh cycles of disaster. Many structures are rebuilt from rubble, but before they are even complete, the monsoon season, or a new aftershock, strikes again. With an economy still struggling, the cost of reconstruction becomes an enormous burden. In fact, many are forced to leave their homeland seeking livelihoods abroad to send money back to restore what was lost. Nepal not only faces harsh nature, but also battles the unending cycle of loss and reconstruction. This is the dark side few see behind the glittering photos of Everest or ancient temples, a country still struggling to exist on the edge of survival. Number 7. Why do heroes live in scarcity? Among the symbols the world knows from Nepal, the name Gurkha always evokes respect. The image of the small but resilient soldier carrying the curved kukri knife has appeared in most major wars of the 19th and 20th centuries. From the battlefields of Afghanistan and Burma to both world wars, over 200,000 Gurkhas fought alongside the British and Indian armies, leaving a legacy of bravery. Better to die than to be a coward. That is why today, whenever Nepal is mentioned, many immediately think of these Himalayan warriors. However, after the glory on the battlefield lies a reality few expect. Not all Gurkhas receive fair treatment. For decades, Gurkha veterans serving the British Army have had to fight for pension rights equal to those of local soldiers, while their families back home struggle in poverty. Some soldiers risk their youth on distant battlefields, but upon returning to Nepal, live in temporary homes relying on small plots of land or remittances from their children working abroad. This contrast makes Gurkha a two-sided symbol. On one hand, they are a source of national pride, a testament to the strength and courage of the Nepalese people on the world map. But on the other hand, they also reflect dependence, when the labor and even the lives of the most elite sons must be linked to foreign armies to find a livelihood. In remote mountain villages, people still tell stories of their ancestors fighting in Britain, India, or in UN peacekeeping forces. But within those same stories, there is also a hint of sadness. Why in their own homeland do these legendary warriors not have enough opportunities to live a dignified life? That question has never been easy to answer. It reminds us that behind every legend of Nepal, from majestic Everest, mysterious Kumari, to brave Gurkhas, there are real lives, often harsh and full of injustice. Number 8. Worshipping animals, forgetting humans. Nepal is often called by the world the land of endless festivals. On average, this small country hosts dozens of major and minor festivals each year, ranging from ancient religious rituals to vibrant street festivals. The Nepalese believe that festivals are not only occasions to thank the gods, but also to strengthen community bonds and dispel daily worries. Among them, Dashain, lasting 15 days and symbolizing the triumph of good over evil, is the largest festival. Following it is Tihar, also known as the Festival of Lights, where oil lamps are lit in the dark to welcome good fortune. And let's not forget Holi, the festival of colors, when the streets of Nepal glow with flying colored powders, blurring boundaries of caste, religion, and age. What makes Nepal special is how they honor not only people, but also animals on important occasions. During Tihar, there is a day dedicated to crows, birds considered messengers of news. The next day, it's the turn of dogs adorned with garlands and red tika marks on their foreheads to honor their loyalty and protection. Then comes cows, sacred symbols in Hinduism, garlanded, fed well, and paraded through the streets with the respect of the people. These rituals are both peculiar and unique, reflecting the belief that all living creatures are intimately connected to the spiritual and material lives of the Nepalese. However, contrasting with the vibrancy and sacredness of these festivals is an incredible paradox. While dogs, cows, and crows are worshipped and honored, millions of Nepalese people are still struggling with poverty, unemployment, and inequality. The poverty rate in rural areas remains high. Many families cannot afford to send their children to school, and millions of laborers must leave their homeland for Malaysia or the Middle East to do arduous work. As mentioned earlier, in the village of Hoxas, many even had to sell a kidney just to afford to rebuild their homes after the earthquake. This contrast makes Nepal simultaneously sparkle like a festival painting and appear harsh like a survival narrative. Festivals bring joy, faith, and unity, but they cannot obscure the dark corners of society. It is in this contrast that Nepal leaves a profound impression, a small country containing countless paradoxes, where laughter mixes with worries, where the lights of festivals flicker against a reality still fraught with injustice. Nepal emerges as a layered tapestry, a small country rich in tradition, where majestic mountains, vibrant festivals, and a resilient history untouched by colonization coexist. But behind this pride lie unbelievable realities. Its people are forced to grapple with poverty and natural disasters, still struggling to secure their right to live and pursue daily aspirations. These shocking realities not only pique curiosity, but also echo universal humanitarian values, the right to life, education, and freedom of choice. So what is needed for Nepalese women and children to escape the vicious cycle of poverty and prejudice, to live truly meaningful lives? If you find these stories thought-provoking, please like and subscribe to the NVL Travel Documentary channel to continue accompanying us.